What's going on, everyone? So, today we're going to be doing a profile on my Amaryllis burn deck. I was hoping to do a couple more of these, but I think this is probably going to be the last of these IRL deck profiles, probably for like another month or so, I think, because I'm going to be away for the holidays, and I do not drag my expensive trading cards everywhere I go for obvious reasons. So, enjoy the return to regular content after today's video. Now, this is a deck that I think this is like my first deck that really got popular. If I remember, I topped Rivet 1 with it. It's definitely a deck that is near and dear to my heart. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed building it a lot. I enjoyed playing it a lot. So yeah, let's just jump into it and talk about it. So first off, as you can see, we have the boss monster of the deck, the house herself, Titanial. Titanial is just an insanely powerful boss monster. Just so easy to summon. It's really obnoxious out in a lot of situations. It can trade really well into tons of stuff. It's 2,800, really huge. And this deck just keeps summoning it. Like, you just keep summoning it again and again, and after they out it, just bring it back. Like, anything Titanial deals well with, this deck can just kind of obliterate because of how easy it is to just do the Titanial turbo elements of this deck. Also, level 8, you pitch it for trade-in. You know, you banish it for Amaryllis or Mark, you DDR it back. So, very, very integral. Probably like the main boss monster of the deck, more so even than Amaryllis. So, yeah. Speak of the devil, Amaryllis. Amaryllis is the centerpiece that this whole deck was basically built around. Kind of like everything is sort of meant to work around a strategy that uses this card. It's basically a mill deck, but like a burn deck as well, where you're just playing this super aggro strategy, trying to whittle your opponent down. And Amaryllis contributes a lot to that, of course, because it's this graveyard resource that just keeps coming back and keeps burning your opponent. Also, it's another plant for like Titanial negates. You can set up pretty obnoxious turn 1 boards with it. You can, of course, get your engine going by banishing stuff in your graveyard to set it up. It's a fire for volcanic counter. It's also an 8 for trade-in. The whole deck is sort of built around facilitating and being facilitated by this card. So, yeah. On to the rest of the plants. Lone Fires and Dandies. I mean, pretty standard plant engine stuff. Gets played in every plant deck, presumably. Alright. We got Raikos. No hamsters. I really don't like hamster. I feel like when you're on Raikos, it's already really bad to go second. And when you add a hamster, that weakness gets exacerbated a lot. So I just play the Raikos. They're really nice, though. They're just very generic removal. They also mill stuff. Like I said, it's basically a mill deck. So you're playing tons of stuff to help you turbo and get stuff into the graveyard and set up your graveyard. Just get your resources going, and Raiko helps a lot with that. Plus, it can pick off annoying cards as well, which is very useful, and it lets you play charge, which is nice. Trooper, of course, just very free mill card. Played in any mill-oriented strategy. I love Card Trooper. I try to fit it into as many decks as I can. This little boy is just so much fun. Just a cool card. 1900 beater, can trade really well with stuff. So yeah, I love Card Trooper, and it works really well in here. I am still on these. Every time I take these out, the deck just feels dramatically worse. I think the card is important. I think too many people see this deck and they rightly observe that like the equip spell stuff with the Amaryllis is really good, and they think that they can just like take out some of the jank stuff and put in staples, and then it's going to be like just as good or better. And it doesn't really work that way. You really need to approach this deck like you're playing Panda Burn or something, I think. But it's like if Panda Burn were a mill deck. Did you understand that? Like, you're really trying to play this like aggro gameplay style that kind of disregards card advantage in certain situations. Like, you're trying to kill your opponent with burn damage, and counter's crazy for that. Like, this is just a free resource that goes in your grave and like does a ton of burn damage. It's great for cheesing wins against like decks and situations that you would otherwise be like screwed against or in. Like, it's great against Gladbeast, I think. I played this deck on the channel a couple weeks ago, and I won against Gladbeast only because I had counter. Like, I'd have had no chance if I didn't have counter. But counter just lets you win games you have no chance, no like business winning whatsoever. And I just think it's great. It like turns on Burial from the Different Dimension in this deck in a really good way. BFDD is basically just a win button if you draw it because of this card. It's really good with full. It just has so much synergy with like so much stuff in this deck, and it really brings together your like burn strategy. So I like the counter a lot. I know other people out there don't, they take it out, but I am a 100% behind playing Volcanic Counter in here. I'm like sold on this. I've tried like so many iterations of this deck, and everyone without counter feels just much worse than ones with counter. So that's where I'm at on that. A couple other cards that are good to mill, just Plague and Necrogardna. I am off like Gores. I'm not playing Tragodia either in here. I think both those cards are pretty mid. You sort of never have an empty board. Like, there's all these tokens and Amaryllis everywhere, and you discard a lot of stuff, which makes Tragodia bad, but I think these two are pretty good. Plague just lets you do extra deck plays. It's very good with Hidden Armory, and like your equip spells. It lets you take their stuff, sync with it. So I think it's important to give you access to extra deck because you don't play Debris Dragon either. And it lets you just make tons of generic synchros, so it's alright. I like having Plague in here. Gardna's nice as well. It prevents them from like messing up your volcanic counters, and goes really well with BFDD as well. So, plus you can recycle it. You can recycle both of these with DDR. So there's like some neat synergies, and they're just really good because it's a mill deck, as I keep mentioning. And then last two monsters, Sangan. I mean, I think I play Sangan in literally every deck. Sangan's just amazing. One of the crazy DM staples that lasted at one for a long time. Just searches the whole deck pretty much. Searches Lone Fire, gets you to Trooper, gets you to Raikou if you need out something, gets a Volcanic counter if you think you can burn your opponent to death somehow. So Sangan's great. And last card, I'm still on Morphing Jar. I think I kind of mentioned before, like, you just want to play this like it's a goat format, sort of cheese alt-win deck almost, and Jar really helps with that. It's another outlet to like discard trash from your hand, and like sort of just, it resets, gets you a bunch of cards that you can just burn your opponent to death with, similar to like burn decks playing Jar in goat format, as I mentioned. So I think Jar is a really neat card. It can just like steal games. People don't really expect it either because it's not really played in Edison. So yeah, I like having Jar in here. On to the spells. So first we've got the Equip spell package, which is 3 Hidden Armory and 1 of each Mark of the Rose and DDR. So the basic idea is Mark and Amaryllis banish your Lone Fires and your Titanials, and you use DDRs to just like keep recycling stuff, you know, get more plants back for Amaryllis, get more Titanials on the board that the opponent needs to deal with, you know, spam the field. And then you can like take their stuff and do crazy stuff with Mark. It's great at playing into stuff and outing things. So this Equip spell package is definitely like the most powerful engine in the deck. It's the last thing I think I added to the deck. It was what really pulled it together and convinced me that I should play this in Rivet 1. You can just do so much crazy stuff. And the fact that Hidden Armory Mills 1 can often come up in a really good way. You can stack for Plague, of course, as I mentioned before, and that's really good. But just having like 4 like Summon Titanial buttons and 4 Brain Control buttons is so good in here. And if you actually look through the monsters, there's like tons of discard fodder and mill fodder and like a pretty low level of normal summons, which is sort of meant to accommodate this package as well. So the deck's really built around it. There's a lot of cool synergies in here, which is something I like a lot. And the Equip spells are just crazy. Like, these are definitely the craziest thing about the deck. I think like Equip spells in general are pretty bad, but like in plant decks, they're actually kind of nuts. There's lots of plant decks that can do really cool stuff with Equip spells, primarily because of Mark of the Rose. So yeah, I think Hidden Armory is really, really good in here. You definitely gotta play it. You gotta play it. All right, draw power. I'm still on card destruction. Same rationale for Morphing Jar, basically. Just we're playing a turbo kind of strategy. Just want to get through our deck as fast as possible. Want to get set up. Want to kill our opponent, and card destruction helps with that. And then we've got 3 trade-ins, of course, because Amaryllis and Titanial are both level 8s. It gets plants in your grave, it sets up your Amaryllis, it helps you turbo through your deck. It's just an amazing card in here, so yeah. Other spells, Burial. Burial's insane. Burial It's just so crazy in here when you play Volcanic Counter. Like, without Volcanic Counter and, like, Necrogardener, this card's super mid, honestly. But with Volcanic Counter, Necrogardener, this is, like, the best burial deck in the goddamn format, including Vayu Turbo. I said it. Like, you can put back resources for Amaryllis. You can, like, just put back multiple Volcanic Counters and one-shot your opponent. You can put back Gardener plus like there's just so many things that this card does, and it's being a quick play spell means you can use it as like a battle trick as well to just end the game. It's just so crazy. So you gotta play Burial. Burial's, if you're playing counters, you gotta play Burial. Burial's nuts. You love to see it. It's just a win the game button. So sacky. Anyway, Foolish Burial. It's a mill deck. You want to put stuff in grave. I mean, it's play Dandelion, you play Amaryllis. It's pretty good. Charge, great card. Mills stuff gets you to Raikou. And then we just got staple back row removal, which you pretty much play these in everything. And trap cards. We only play 5 traps. My traps are a little bit different. It's not a very trap heavy deck, but I play the good ones. So, you know, these 4. These are like the 4 power traps of the format, I guess, or at least the big ones that are in pretty much every deck. I decided Solemn's kind of weird, right? Because it's like, you want to trade life points with your opponent with the Volcanic Counters a lot. So Solemn sort of interferes with that, but I think it's just broken enough individually as like a generic staple trap card that it's worth it to play it anyhow. And then we are down to 1 Wing Blast. This is like the iffiest thing in this deck. I think we actually have a ton of discard fodder besides this. And we have like sufficient generic removal, which isn't even something you super need a ton of in here. Like maybe in game 2, if there's like Fossil Dinos or Vanity's Fiends, maybe then it's better to have more of these, but like you're not really losing to Royal Oppression or anything in here, so it's pretty much just like the super obnoxious specific floodgates. But I still think having 1 extra discard outlet is okay, but like I said, this is the sort of iffy spot. I'm not really sure if I should like switch it up, go back to 2 Wing Blast, or cut it out completely, or what I should do with this spot. I do like having the Wing Blast, so I don't know, it's weird. But you've also got Raikou for generic removal. I'll have to think about it. I still think the deck, sort of in practice, is in a very good spot right now. I think I don't play it super often, but when I do, I have pretty good results. So something must be working, right? Anyway, that's the only thing I'm kind of unsure about is like the Wing Blast ratios. Anyway, extra deck. It's pretty much just good generic synchros. You know, we got the Mistworm, got all the level 8s, got all the 7s, got the 6s, got the 5s, the Armory Arm, and the Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. So, I mean, pretty self-explanatory there. It's just all of the best generic synchros in the format. Anyway, that's going to be the completed deck profile. If you have any questions, be sure to post them down below. Any suggestions for what I should do about Phoenix Wing Wind Blast in this deck, definitely let me know. Be sure to like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.